And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show. It is Friday, September 22nd. I am Josh Engleman, here to break down an 11-game MLB slate. No football for today. Good. I hated last night's slate. Awful on the NFL side. Couldn't have been less happy with the way that game went. But I am not Jason Woodward. I'll put it up on the screen right now. Let's change the view here if we can. Does that make it a little bit better? Sure, that'll work. That'll be fine. That'll be better. That's even better. There we go. Jason Woodward on the screen. I've been listening for a few weeks as I got serious about DFS. Got the Owner's Box football subscription deal and used it for a share of first last night in the football showdown. Thank you. Super Banker 36. Dude, congratulations, man. Congratulations. Glad you picked that up, man. Glad you picked that up. That's awesome. That's very exciting to see. I did not pick up first. I was nowhere near it, but that's okay. We got Jason Woodward in with the dub. So congratulations. Thank you for the super chat, man. That's awesome. Seriously, congratulations. Really, really exciting to see. All right. First and foremost, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe to the channel, notification bell, all that good stuff. We know that. 2, shout out Owner's Box. Just because. Awesome to have them as the sponsor. Certainly entering their contest again on Sunday for week 3. I can't believe it's week 3 already. That's kind of crazy. We'll talk about the Red Zone promo a little bit later. We will also, let's see, what am I missing here? What else we got to touch on? Schedule for the rest of the day is pretty easy. We don't have to go too crazy there. That's going to be NFL Strategy Show after this with Lofty and Greg, and then myself and Matthew Bellman back later tonight for MLB Live Before Lock. Only 3 live shows today. 2 of them involve this guy right here. So we're going to have some fun. We got to be out at 11. If there's not a lot to talk about for a particular game, we're going to not talk about a particular game. That's just going to be how this show works. We only have a week left in this MLB season, so we got to get it in now while we can. So now is the time to get started. I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee. Very necessary. Oh, Eric Garcia, by the way, congrats. Congrats. I know Cole was awesome last night. When all was said and done, I really would have preferred to have played baseball instead of NFL. Unfortunately, that did not work out for me. But what can you do? Look, it's not every day is not a winner. I was feeling pretty good. After the Breida touchdown, I thought I had some life because I had a pretty big stand on Breida. But, man, the Giants just couldn't do anything. It was ugly. It was real ugly. Just really unfun, I guess would be the best way to describe it for me. But, you know, it was great for Jason Woodward. So this is for every person that hates it. Somebody else out there surely loved it. But now I got my stuff up. We ready to break down this slate? Well, I say we get into it. We're going to kick this one off. Philadelphia Phillies taking on the New York Mets. 5-run implied total for the Phils, 4.1 for the Mets. Taijuan Walker on the hill for Philadelphia. Tyler McGill getting the start for the Mets. I need to grab our top stacks and top pitchers tool. Just realized that is the one thing that I did not do. I also need to refresh my crunch. That is the thing that I actually didn't do and forgot to do. So let's find out what I actually have this morning. My biggest, I certainly didn't have Bell. That touchdown couldn't have been more frustrating. I had basically every other $200 guy except for him, so that sucked. And then my biggest captain stand was Daniel Jones. I thought he would run more. Spoiler alert, he didn't. So that didn't help. That was pretty frustrating. But that's okay. We got plenty to talk about here in the baseball streets. All right, I got my crunch locked and loaded. Do I have anything dumb right out of the gate that I need to just excise from my exposures? Way too much of the Giants. Yeah, let's go ahead and cut those guys back a little bit, and then we'll figure out where that ends up. Looks like I have 4 primary teams that I can see right now, maybe 5, depending on how cutting the Giants works. Oh my God, the Giants are pulling no ownership. They must. So they're playing the Dodgers. I don't remember who's pitching for the Dodgers today, but I assume it's somebody getting ownership based on the amount of Giants that I have. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That'll be the last game we touch on. Now that I've got my crunch loaded, I can load back in the top pitchers and top stacks tool. The top pitchers and top stacks tool, guys, I brush over it a lot. Like I take it for granted that everybody knows what I'm talking about, but having the data on how frequently someone is like a high scoring pitcher is very helpful. So let's get this one going. I mentioned Phillies and Mets already. Taijuan Walker, 6% owned. Tyler McGill, 1% owned. Don't really see this as a situation where we should be getting to either pitcher. Walker should be around 5%. McGill probably could be around 5%. Neither guy is a primary option. I don't see much here that I want to take a stand on. So I'm going to skip it from a pitching perspective, and then we'll look at it from a hitting perspective. And I have one side of this game. I don't have the other. The Phillies are 7th in ownership. They are 9th in top stack, 21st in value. Now, I personally think the Phillies should be way higher in top stack than 9th. Based on what I have, they're one of the few teams with a 5-run implied total. They're at home in a good park against a crappy pitcher. I think Philly should grade out better in our tools than they do right now. That said, I have the Phillies 3rd in top stack, 7.8%, well ahead of where we have them at 5.2. Even at 3rd, where like now, because of their prices, I think Philly is incredibly expensive. There's 22 teams. There's 22 teams on today's slate. I have the Phillies as the 20th best value. So while they do have a really nice upside, they're incredibly expensive. And that's what's stopping me from getting them. So even if I think they look better, I still don't think that I want to go that direction. I only have 1.8% of Philly. I don't have any of their stacks. I certainly don't mind them. On paper, their ceiling is massive. I just don't think they're the best. I don't think they're the most efficient way to try to achieve that ceiling because of their price tag. So most I have of any hitter is Bryce Harper. Clearly, you can go to any real bats in this game for Philadelphia against McGill and feel pretty good. 195 x-ISO to lefties, 207 to righties. He's going to give up some power. But I think these guys are probably a hair overpriced right now, or at the very least properly priced. And there's not a lot you can squeeze out of that, which is stressful. Einsteinium, yeah, Cole was good. The cocktails were good. Ultimately, it ended up being not a cocktail. It was half-price wine night. So the wife and I split a bottle of wine. I ate a couple sushi rolls. She ate a sushi roll. We had some pork dumplings as well. It was a nice night. All right, so now I got to talk about the Mets. And this is where it gets a little squirrely. We have them 13th in top stack, 15th in value. I have the Mets 6th. Now, I am aware that I probably overrate the Mets a little bit. I think they rank really high in steamer. They don't strike out a lot. They project with a lot of power. That said, Taijuan Walker's not great. He's at best average, and I'd say below average is pretty firm. Like a number 4 starter. 160 x-ISO to lefties, 150 to righties. So he can give up some power. He doesn't generate any right-handed swinging strikes, but we're going to see a lot of lefties from the Mets. They are 2.5% owned. As of right now, I've got 23 Met stacks and around 11%. Probably not necessary like that, but the most I have of any one guy is Brandon Nimmo, leadoff spot, 4,800. I don't mind taking that stand at all. After that, it's only 12% of somebody, so I don't mind a massive stand on the Mets. I wish Taijuan Walker was getting a little bit more ownership, but if I'm just looking at this game, the 2.5% ownership to the Mets, like there's 22 teams on the slate. Average ownership would be 4.5%. The Mets are at 2.5. But a 4.1 run implied total in Philadelphia against Taijuan Walker, 114 park factor to lefties. Like Brandon Nimmo in the leadoff spot should get a lot more love than 4% ownership today. I think the Mets are just a bit under-owned. So this is a team that I certainly want to attack for today. I wish there was more leverage to be had, but I think the Mets are getting slept on a bit. I think they're better than what they show. Unless they really sit a couple dudes, like if Alonso and Lindor somehow sit today, then it might be a problem. But I really, really like the Mets as a sneak stack. This is a large field situation because they're not pulling any ownership. This is a large field GPP team for me. As I rank the game personally, my priorities: Mets bats, Phillies bats, Walker, McGill. Would I recommend the under on Walker's strikeout prop? I have no idea. I haven't really ever looked at strikeout props. Since I can't bet them, and like obviously I could do it at Prize Picks, but I've never set anything up for it. And there's not enough time in the season left for me to care. Probably something that I'll pay attention to a lot next year. Once I have sports betting, I will likely have a lot more of my own stuff. All right, let's go on to game number 2. 73 people. We'll get up to like 140 or so by the time we end this bad boy. That'll be nice. 3.5 run implied total for the Nats, 5.4 for the Braves. Pat Corbin going for Washington, Charlie Morton going for Atlanta. No one rostering Corbin, and you shouldn't. I shouldn't have to explain that one either. It's the Braves. It's the Braves in Washington too, no less. So road bats. You can't go to Corbin. Charlie Morton is 9,900. That's the third most expensive pitcher today. $800 cheaper than Pablo Lopez. He's 12% owned. That's about where I think he should be. We have him as a 20% top 2 pitcher. I have it at 15. Call it 17. Not the best value option. Ownership in that 10 to 15 range, I think sounds right. I'm a little bit lighter than that, but certainly get to Morton. His ownership at 13% is not incorrect. But we got to talk about bats, obviously. Number 1 in our top stack. They're number 1 in my top stack. The Braves are on the road. Here are the other teams that have 5-run implied totals today. Phillies, Red Sox, Twins, Padres, Dodgers. Every single one of those teams except for the Braves is at home. Braves are on the road today. Guaranteed 9 innings worth of at-bats. So hard to not want to go to Atlanta, but this is also already the number 1 owned team. They're in 10% of lots. So they're more than twice as owned as the average team. They're first in ownership at 10%. I can't do that. I'm not going to have the Braves today, even though they look amazing. They are clearly the top stack, and I don't think that their ownership is crazy by any means. Like Ronald Acuna should get a bunch of ownership. Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, both those guys should be 12% owned. I have no qualms with the ownership. I just don't love them in large field contests just because they're already pulling the ownership. And they funnel you into a very specific build. But don't get it twisted. The top stack for today, the team most likely to be the highest scoring team, is absolutely the Atlanta Braves. I don't even think it's close. I think they're way out in front. That said, the most I have of any Atlanta Brave is Ronald Acuna at 6%. And I get it. Most of the Atlanta that I get now is non-stacked, or at least 3 or less. I think that's the only way you could really get there. For me. On the opposite side, we're not going to the Nats. They're either 20th or 21st. You don't want to face Charlie Morton, although, it's still Morton. He Does give up a little bit of power to righties, no power at all to lefties, but this isn't the spot. 3.5 run implied total for the Nats. We don't have to talk about everything. I'm not getting to the Nats. They're the least owned team on the slate. I think we've said enough. Yankees and Diamondbacks. 4.2 run implied total for the Yankees, 3.9 for the Diamondbacks. Luke Weaver going for the Yankees. Did I type that in correctly? Is Luke Weaver on the Yankees? When did he go to the Yankees? Has he been on the Yankees? No. Okay, so his last start was for the Yankees. I must have missed that happening. What day of the week was that? September 6th. That had to be a weekend. What was September 16th? Yep, it's a Saturday. No wonder I had no idea. I don't usually play on Saturdays. It's the one day I don't do content. Luke Weaver started on a Saturday. No wonder I never knew he was there. Anyway, Luke Weaver starting for the Yanks today. 2% owned. Don't play him. Not interesting. 5% guy at best. Brandon Pfaadt on the opposite side. 18% owned. 6,800. Is he a little over-owned? Yeah, probably. I think he should probably be 10 to 15% owned. 18's pulling a little bit more, but he's the best value guy you can get to. You can make a case that dollar for dollar, he's the best guy below Chris Sale. So I have no problem with the ownership. It's just a hair high. It's not stopping me, though. I have 27%. I think he's a great value. It's a great strikeout matchup against New York. The only thing that's really problematic is the fact that the park plays up runs or plays up power. But as I look at it, I think Brandon Pfaadt is more than worth the value option here. The only scary part is that this dude gives up a shit ton of power. 198 x ISO to lefties this year, 217 to righties. There's a lot of power in this Yankees lineup. Judge, Torres, Wells, Stanton, everybody basically, except for DJ LeMahieu. So there's certainly some risk to going to the Yankees. I think their implied total tells a pretty big story. I think that's giving me a little bit more respect for Brandon Pfaadt because he's been a little unlucky in WOBA. 380 WOBA to lefties, but 340 x WOBA. Similarly, 347 to righties, 326 x WOBA. So he's been a little unlucky. Just got to keep the ball in the yard. 6,800 makes the price tag work. I'm happy to get to Brandon Pfaadt. Definitely my preferred value option for right now. As we look at stacks, we would start with the Diamondbacks. They are 6th in ownership at 6% owned. I don't have them. Now, nobody is double-digit owned, so 9% to Corbin Carroll isn't exactly crazy when you face Luke Weaver. It's actually incredible to me to think that the Diamondbacks line is as low as it is, given Luke Weaver being on the hill, but whatever. I have the Diamondbacks 14th in top stack. That's 5 spots ahead of us, and I still can't get to these guys. 1.5%. I think Corbin Carroll is probably the best bat you can get from Arizona. I don't really want to stack the Diamondbacks today. It's a lot of outfielders. 4 outfielders in the top 6 spots, no MPEs, just a first base and a second base. They buried catcher, third, and short. That makes it hard for me to get to Arizona. I'm more likely to get to the Yankees side, and I feel great about that. One, I'm certainly a little nervous about Brandon Pfaadt's ability to keep the ball in the yard. 2, I have the Yankees grading out a little bit better than we do. 12th in top stack, 12th in top value. They're 17th in ownership at 2.5%. I have them a little bit better off than that. I think they should be around 12th. So while I'm not getting a ton of the Yankees, I do have 6 stacks. I do have around 4%, so a little bit higher than the field. It's mostly Judge and Wells. But seeing this lineup later on, I think the Yankees will have some ability to be interesting in large field because of Brandon Pfaadt getting ownership and the fact that he gives up power and the Yankees have it. So keep your eye on the Yankees. Right now, they're not a major priority, but I do think they look interesting in a large field GPP. From ranking this game, it's Brandon Pfaadt, Yankees bats, Diamondbacks bats, Luke Weaver. All right, I'm going to take another sip of coffee. We're through 3 games. Moving and grooving today, guys. Like I said, NFL Strategy Show. Coming up next, 11 a.m., Lofty and Greg breaking down a little bit more for Sunday's Week 3 slate. And then it's myself and Bellman back tonight at 6 p.m. for Live Before Lock. God, I love coffee. If it wasn't for coffee, I would never get anything done. Guardians and Orioles. 4-run implied total for Cleveland, 4.1 for Baltimore. Shane Bieber going for the Guardians. Dean Kramer going for the Orioles. No ownership coming into Kramer. He should probably be like 5% owned. It's not a problem to be with Kramer today, but terrible matchup. No strikeouts against Cleveland. Juan Ramirez, Naylor, just a really bad 1-2-3. But Bieber's not like a garbage dump of a pitcher. You wouldn't be surprised if he had a good game. Gives up a ton of power to lefties. There's going to be a decent chunk of lefties here in Cleveland, so that's at least mildly scary. I don't know why I'm justifying Kramer so much. He's not useful. The other key piece here that we got to talk about is Shane Bieber, and don't play him today. Bieber this will be the first time that he's started in the majors since July 9th. He threw he faced 15 batters on the 12th and another 14 batters on the 17th in AA and AAA. This dude's not throwing a shit ton of innings. You can't play him at 9,400. So ignore Shane Bieber. We don't know what he's going to be coming back here. It was an elbow, so, kind of scary. Yeah, as Sean V mentions in chat, 80 pitch limit. You're just not getting enough. I got him in for 4 2/3, which might even be too much, and I still don't get him. We got to talk about bats here. If we're talking about any side of bats, we're definitely talking about the Orioles side. I don't think Bieber gets blown up. There's like a 1 or 2% chance that his arm isn't great. We have the Orioles 9th in top stack, 9th in top value, 9th in ownership. I'm a little bit lighter on Baltimore, like a little bit more respect for Bieber here today. So I have 1% of the Orioles, no stacks. I have 1% of the Guardians, 1 stack. This game is I want to stay away from it as much as possible game. Because Bieber's good, but he's limited, so you can't use him. Kramer's solid enough, but there's no real interest in using him because it's the worst strikeout matchup you can get to. The park doesn't help. It limits runs. It limits righty power. I don't really want the Baltimore bats properly owned in this park against a good pitcher. And I don't really want the Guardians bats against Kramer because, he's decent enough. So, to me, I just want this game to stay quiet. If I'm ranking it, I don't rank it at all. I don't want anything. An individual bat is always in play. If you want Santander or O'Hearn, Josh Naylor or Jose Ramirez, I don't, that's fine. We're not stacking either one of these sides. That's just not happening. Cleveland loss would mean they're eliminated. Fangraphs has them eliminated already. Let's see if that's true. Playoff status. American League playoff picture. Do they have a chance? Yeah, I think they might be dead already. They don't control their own destiny, so maybe they would have to win out and hope other teams lose. Yeah, that's weird. Man, they are way down the list. Wait, remaining games 3. That must be most important series. Got it. Yeah, they're basically dead. I think they have to win out and then have some other team basically lose out because their losing magic number is 1. Yeah, anyway, I don't know why I'm looking this up. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. Don't play the Guardians-Orioles game. I I looked at that longer than I should have. Game 5, Red Sox and White Sox. 5.5 run implied total for the Red Sox. 3.9 for the White Sox in the Battle of Sox. Chris Sale on the hill for Boston. Touki Toussaint on the hill for the White Sox. And I'm not going to lie, I feel like Touki Toussaint and Taijuan Walker are the same person in my brain. Chris Sale, 9,200 for today. 27% owned. He is the second most owned pitcher on today's slate. I don't have a problem with it. He's certainly over-owned at 27%. We have him at 14% top 2 pitcher, 5% top value. I'm higher on Sale. I have it at 18 top 2 pitcher, but he should be like 15% owned, not 27. I have 15%. He's just a little over-owned. I prefer Framber Valdez to Chris Sale today. You know, it's a salary thing. You got to pay the extra $1,000, but I prefer the Valdez piece of this to get at home against the Royals than I do here for Chris Sale, although great matchup against the White Sox. And it's mostly because he's 27% owned. It's just a little high. Definitely one of the best couple pitchers you can get to today. I don't want to sell it incorrectly, but I think he's getting a little bit more love than he should. A little bit too much love. Touki Toussaint, on the other hand, 6,300. Not the guy you should be going to here against Boston. But if we talk bats, I'm on this game for sure, and I'm definitely on the Boston Red Sox. Now, they are the second most owned team. Is it Toussaint? Because we have this one wrong then. Or I have the wrong line. There's no way I have the wrong line. Boston's got to be a massive favorite here, right? Yeah, minus 215, line's 9.5. Okay, and Boston's a big favorite. Yeah, so we must have something off in the top pitchers in the top stacks tool because we have Boston 16th. That's clearly impossible. They're clearly not 16th in top stack or 11th in top value. I have it second and third. They're second in ownership. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I'm also getting there. So they're 8% owned. I have 19%. So basically doubling up or more on Boston. 31 stacks. I want every piece of this. I'm getting to every bit of Boston, at least as of right now. Maybe that changes later today. Who knows? But for right now, I'm getting every bit of Boston. Toussaint, 160 xISO to lefties, 170 to righties. Now, he strikes out a lot of righties, but not the best strikeout matchup in the world. Lefties really touch him up. This is a great spot for Devers, Verdugo, Yoshida. Those three guys look fantastic. Oh, Mike Bass, you took down the relay throw. Nice. Your Cole Scooble Pirate stack helped me take down the 15 on DK. Well, I'm glad I did that for you because since I didn't play, I didn't have the thing that I told everybody to do. It's always fun. So that could have been my 25K. You're welcome, Mike Bass. Jokes aside, though, congratulations. That's awesome. Looks like between Mike Bass and Jason Woodward, it was a good day in the streets here for Stochastic. Anyway, we're summing up Boston. They're awesome today. My favorite stack. They are the team that I have the most of. And we will see our top stacks tool correct the issue at some point in time today because they should not be. It looks like we flipped the line on Boston and the White Sox. I'm going to let them know quickly. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, folks. One second. Done. All right, so I'll let the people know. Red Sox season today. That said, I don't hate the White Sox. And a lot of it has to do with the Chris Sale ownership. So I guess we need to talk it through. Chris Sale is 9,200, but still pulling 27% ownership. So that's the first step that we need to talk about. White Sox are... Now, we have it flip-flopped. We have the line wrong. So, we have the White Sox as the favorites and the Red Sox as the dogs. So, that's why the White Sox are showing up second in top stack. I have the White Sox 10th in top stack, 5th in top value. These guys are so cheap outside of Lubob. So, that's where we need to start here. 4% owned, for the White Sox. I have 8% and 13 stacks. So I'm 2xing this team right now. And we need to think it through for Sale. So Sale, in his last start against Toronto, struck out 10. It was solid. Had a little bit more of a squirrely start against Baltimore in the start before that. As we look at Sale's numbers this season, 187 ex-ISO to lefties, 160 to righties. Now, there is still some pop here, and he's going to see 8 righties. So it's not Tim Anderson and Benintendi, but if those guys can get on, that's where it starts to look good. Lou Bob, Eloy, Andrew Vaughn, Trace Thompson, those guys can change the game with one swing of the bat. So do I like targeting a guy with the talent level of Chris Sale? Absolutely not. However, if he's going to be am I talking like, it's a Mario. If he's going to be 27% owned, then I think the White Sox immediately become an interesting team to get to in large field GPPs. So I'm happy to mostly double up on the field. It's a little bit more Tim Anderson, but a $3,400 shortstop hitting against a lefty on the road. I'm going to like that no matter what when they're in the leadoff spot. I love the Boston Red Sox. The Chicago White Sox are very sneaky. We're ranking this game Red Sox, Sale, White Sox, Toussaint. All right, we have 6 more games to go. We're at the midway point, but there are a couple teams and stuff that we won't have to look at this one and really enjoy it. Not even Josh can argue that the Sox will win this game easy. I agree. I definitely think the Sox will win this game. Rangers and Mariners. 4.6 run implied total for Texas. 4.3 for the Mariners. Dane Dunning and Bryce Miller. Now, Bryce Miller is unowned at 8,100. I think you could have upwards of 5%, and that's fine. Dane Dunning is 7% owned at 7,900, and that's about right. Anywhere in that 5 to 10 range is going to be fine. Neither one of these guys is a priority, but if you're going to one over the other, it's probably Dunning. Now, I'm not getting to much of this one at all. 15th in ownership for Texas. They're 7th in top stack. 15th in ownership for Seattle. They're like 11th in stack score. This is middle of the park, middle of the park, middle of the park, middle of the park. And I basically don't have it. I have 1.5% of the Rangers, 2.5% of the Mariners, 3 total stacks for this game. Most exposure I have to anybody is either Cal Raleigh, which I'm happy about, or Corey Seager, which I'm happy about. Cal Raleigh is probably the best bat in this game because of his eligibility. But as I look at it, I don't really want anything. This is like a slightly... It's basically just the Guardians-Orioles game. I don't want much of any side of it. As I rank it, it's probably Dunning, Miller, Rangers, Mariners, but I really don't like it at all. So, to me, Rangers, Mariners, Guardians, Orioles, 2 games that I'm mostly staying away from. It's just not that kind of game, Dunning doesn't give up crazy power. Bryce Miller gives up a lot of power to lefties. So, Corey Seager, Nate Lowe, Jonah Heim. No, I'm flipping that. No, I'm right. Corey Seager, Nate Lowe, Jonah Heim, not Tavares, not Evan Carter. But Seager and Lowe look really good. Astros and Royals. This will be a little bit more of a talking point for me here. But we've got a 4.7 run implied total on the Stros, a 3.2 run implied total on the Royals. Framber Valdez and Cole Ragans. Valdez is 10,200 today. That's a big price tag. $500 cheaper than Pablo Lopez, but very expensive. Second most expensive guy. That's a big price tag. Cole Ragans 7,800 for today. And that is going to be the first place that we start. Because Cole Ragans is 16% owned at that $7,800 price tag. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a ton of interest in getting to Cole Ragans against the Astros. Seems scary. Ragans strikeout prop is at 5.5. Now, I am a little bit lighter here, but we got to remember, Jose Altuve against lefties strikes out like 14% of the time. Alex Bregman against lefties, 12. Here are the strikeout rates for the first 5 guys. 14, 12, 21, 20, 14. If this is what the lineup looks like, I would like to be lighter on Cole Ragans. This is a bad spot for him against this Astros team. Because outside of Martin Maldonado, they just don't have a lot of strikeouts. And he might only face Maldonado once. That's not going to be enough. So as I look at it, he's 16% owned. Now, we like him a lot more than I do. But I think he's a little overowned. I think 10 is probably where it should be. I only have 4. I'm down on Cole Ragans. But I usually am as well. This is a guy that's striking out guys at a bigger rate than Steamer projects. But this is also a terrible matchup for it. Valdez on the opposite side, though, I'm way higher on than we are. We have him 15% top 2 pitcher, and I have it at 32. So we're talking about something very different because Framber Valdez is going to go deep into this game. That's what I think is the most interesting piece here. The Royals have basically the lowest implied total. It's either them or the Angels today. Those are the 2 teams, or potentially the Nats. They're the 3. They're all in the low to mid 3s. But as I look at Valdez averages 19.5 outs per start. I have him in for 6.2 innings, so a little over 6 innings. And if that's the case, 22% ownership. I think he's properly owned at 22%. I just find him easier to get to because I think Sale is over-owned. And that's the easiest place for me to bump him up. Like, I'm already getting a ton of Pablo Lopez. But I think that Valdez is the guy that we want to pay attention to. A little sneakier than Chris Sale. Better spot for sure. Better strikeout matchup for sure. As I look a little bit further into the data, 150 x ISO to lefties for Valdez, 156 to righties. So he doesn't give up a ton of power. 23% K rate to righties, 31 to lefties. Now he's going to see 8 righties, but that's still a decent enough spot. He's got a strikeout prop of 6.5. Now it's juiced to the under. I got him at 5.9. That seems like I'm spot on that number. I like Valdez. I do quite a bit. So 37% of Valdez. He is my second most exposed pitcher. I am not getting to the Royals. I have no interest in attacking Valdez. I am not really getting to the Astros, though, because I do think Cole Ragans is good. I have them 7th in top stack, but dead last in value because it's hard for them to run down the Braves at like almost a full run behind them. So the most I have of any hitter is either 2% of Nelson Velasquez or 2% of Maikel Garcia. I only have 1% of anybody on the Stros. So I rank this game Valdez, Ragans, Astros, Royals. That's what we're looking at for right now. 20 minutes to go. Well, 15 minutes-ish to go before we bounce on out of here for the NFL Strategy Show. Make sure you're hitting that like button. We got to talk about the promo code on the top of the screen. That is going to be Red Zone, REDZONE, $9.99 for your first week of the NFL lineup generator. You can use that for showdown, for main slates. Now's a great time to do it. I love this tool. We talk a lot about our Sims tool. That's a big time ask. That's for a different style of player. I think the majority of the people that listen to whatever I'm saying right now, the majority of the listeners of this show, the lineup generator is the tool that's going to be better for you. Can I still pull it up? Is there still data in here? Do we have this? Oh, yeah. So I can share this screen quickly because I want you guys to see what it looks like. We still have some data in there for last night's game. But it's so quick. If you want to generate, this is going to be for a showdown scenario, but it's just going to pop a lineup in front of your face. You're going to see salary, ownership, projections, optimal rates, how chalky or balanced the lineup is. If you like the lineup that's on the screen right now, you can click save. Or if you click discard, just boom, immediately another lineup is in front of you. Discard. Save, discard, save. You see how quickly everything's moving on the screen. You just get a better lineup put in front of your face. It's sort of like the baseline of The Sims with a little bit less functionality. We generate all of the lineups on our own. We throw away everything that we don't think grades out well. So right away, you're getting a culled list of better lineups than you would if you just started from scratch. This is the perfect tool for you to get. If you're like a 1 lineup guy, a 3 lineup guy, upwards of 20, you could export 20 via CSV. If this sounds like you, $9.99, link in the description. You got to sign up for the NFL lineup generator. Come check it out. All right, here we go. Let's get back into it now. Twins and Angels. 5.1 run implied total for the Twins, 3.2 for the Angels. Give me 1 second here. Did that refresh itself? Or did I read something wrong? Give me 1 second, guys. Responding so we can get everything correct on the back end. Top Stacks tool. If you're following along with me on the site, Top Stacks tool has been updated. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that now, dump it into the sheet so we have the updated info. So Boston is now at the top instead of being at the bottom like they were before. All right, Twins and Angels. We've got a little over 10 minutes, so we got 4 more games to go. We'll pick up the pace. Pablo Lopez going for the Twins, 5.1 run implied total. Robert Daniel or Daniel, what the hell is this guy's name? Davis Daniel, whatever his name actually is. He's 4,500 on the opposite side. 12% owned, I might add. But Lopez is the guy we want to talk about here. 10,700. I don't even think this is remotely close. Pablo Lopez looks incredible. This is a dude that's going to go 6 innings. It's a great spot against the Angels. There's no Ohtani here. There's no Trout here. Massive strikeout spot. 37% owned, and he should be 37% owned. I love everything today about Pablo Lopez. He is in 80% of my lineups. To me, he is the clear, unequivocal number 1 option on today's slate for pitching. I don't think it's even close. I see no way to go to anyone other than Pablo Lopez. Strikeout prop for today on Lopez. We only have alternative lines. He is plus 120. No, we'll even do this. He's minus 154 for 8 or more. So we're talking like 55, 60% over the 8 plus. Plus 126 for 9 or more strikeouts. He's like 45% for 9 or more. An absolute no-brainer option. Play as much Pablo Lopez as you can. To me, the clear number 1 dude. I don't love the value on the guy on the opposite side here against the Twins. He's 12% owned because he's 4,500. I don't think that he should be, and it's not a guy that I'm going to be getting to. So that's where I stand on Robert Davis Daniel. Pablo Lopez is the dude. Also, don't play the Angels. They look awful. They grade out poorly. Other than being cheap, that's the only way you want to go there. I want to go to the Twins. If this dude on the opposite side is going to get 12% ownership, even better. We have the Twins 5th in top stacks, 2nd in value. Now, I think that's too high. I have it 11th and 6th. But they are 8th, 8% owned, 3rd overall. I'm on a different level here. But I still have 15.5% of the Twins. They look great. I expect them to have a big total. Like, they're very easy to roster. I hate the double second base thing at the top, but I have 29 Twin stacks. This is the 3rd of 4 teams that I have a lot of. The Minnesota Twins are one of them. If Kirilloff is in the lineup, I think he stands out a lot. Kepler, Castro, Julien, and Polanco all look great as well. Stay away from the Angels. Stay away from Daniel. It's Pablo Lopez, major priority. Twins in the 2-hole. It's a clean line in the sand. I don't want any bit of the Angels team. Max Fried to the IL. All right. Padres and Cardinals. 5 run implied total for the Pods. 4 for the Cardinals. Matt Waldron going for San Diego. Dakota Hudson for St. Louis. No ownership coming into Hudson. It shouldn't. No ownership coming into Waldron. It shouldn't. So I guess we're going to talk bats, which I don't have in this one either. So I think we're going to say that the Padres Cardinals game is also like the Rangers Mariners and Guardians Orioles. Now, that's different for the public. Padres are 4th in ownership, 8% owned. I have them 9th in top stack. We have them 3rd. Maybe I'm a little light, but this is a park that limits runs. It limits lefty power. Now, facing Dakota Hudson is certainly a benefit, but I think like obviously rostering Tatis and Soto and Machado is great against Dakota Hudson, but these guys are a little overowned for what they have. Like, you can get comparable, like the other versions of them on other teams at much lower ownership. I don't mind San Diego. I think they're overowned. I basically don't have them. And I really don't have the Cardinals either. The most I have of any Cardinals bat, 3% of Arenado, 3% of Nootbaar. I'm not getting to anything. I don't have either pitcher. I don't have the Pods. I don't have the Cards. If I'm going to anything in this game, it's clearly the Padres bats. Bogarts, Tatis, Soto, Machado, Campusano. Like, those guys are all fantastic. G-Man Choi, a 190 projected ISO for $2,400. I love every bit of San Diego on paper, but I don't think they look like a great GPP option for me yet. Maybe that changes. Tune in to Live Before Lock to find out. 2 to go. A's and Tigers. 3.7 run implied total for the Athletics. 4.2 for the Tigers. Ken Waldichuk and something Gibson Long. It's Alec in Steamer. It's Sawyer Gibson Long in other places. It is an interesting talking point because he's 16% owned at 7,700. And I'm going to say right now that he shouldn't be. He should be like 5 to 10. So don't eat that ownership, in my opinion. I don't like it in the middle. I'd rather have Cole Reagans, if we're being honest. But I'd rather have like Dane Dunning, if I'm being honest. So on the opposite side, we have Waldichuk. He's 14% owned. He should probably be around 10. No qualms at all getting to Waldichuk. I definitely prefer Waldichuk to Gibson Long on the opposite end. Great spot. Park limits runs. Kills righty power. It's not that I don't know his name. It's that he has 2 separate names. It's not my fault that he does that. I don't like it. It's not like I'm making up a first name. One of them is his first name. One of them is what he goes by. I don't know the difference between the two, and I don't give a shit between the two. Let's talk bats. Tigers are 6th in ownership. We have them 8th in top stack. There's no way that the Tigers are 8th in top stack today. I have them 18th. I agree that they're an incredible value, but there's no way they're a top part. They're a top stack today against Ken Waldichuk. So I have 1 stack and 1.5%. Do not play the Tigers. Do not play the Tigers here. Like, Jake Rogers is 19% owned. Is he a cash catcher? Probably. Hate them. Hate him in large field. I like the A's side more, but I don't really want either side. I have the A's as the worst stack you can get to. So do we. But they are also the best value you can get to. 4,500 for Zach Geloff. 3,100 for Ryan Noda. Everybody else in the 2s, if this is the lineup that is going to be playing. I have 7 stacks and 4%. Ultimately, I don't want this, like, I don't like this game at all. But if you're ranking it, it's probably like Gibson Long and Waldichuk, then Tigers bats, then A's bats. I have the A's bats ahead of the Tigers bats. I have Ken Waldichuk ahead of Gibson Long. None of it's fun. None of it's good. It's all really, really just unfun. Gibson Long is the 29, like, he's a 25-year-old pitcher. He was the 29th ranked pitcher in the Tigers system. He doesn't have any good stuff. He's just like not a guy that matters at all. He struck out 31% of guys in AAA and AA, so maybe that's interesting, but I'm good on this one for him. Maybe that'll change. Who knows? We close it out with the Dodgers and the Giants. Guys, don't forget to hit that like button. We have a little bit more time than I thought we were going to, and I don't want to miss this one. So I'm going to get it up on the screen as fast as I can before we hit this final game. Let's share the screen And let's talk about Owner's Box, sponsor of the show. I've got the contest up. It's $35K to first. Okay? It's down from 50. But they're still taking in close to 14,000 entries. Sign up for Owner's Box using the link in the description. You will get a week's worth of our NFL Sims Max package. You'll get up to $500 in Owner's Box on your first deposit. Both of those things are incredible. You can use the Sims tool for DraftKings and FanDuel if you want on the weekend, or just use it for Owner's Box and get into what I think is going to be still the best contest in the industry. I'm not expecting them to get 14,000 entries here, guys, so I think you're going to get this with reduced rake or potentially overlay. That is what I'm looking for today. I want overlay. I want reduced rake. I want the best contest I can get into. And I want the most fun contest to get into because there's no defenses. There's no kickers. They got a super flex here. Play 2 quarterbacks. Stack that bad boy up. Have a much better experience. There's a lot of money to be had on Owner's Box right now. I think you guys should take advantage ASAP. Click the link in the description. Now, do we know for sure that it's Gavin Stone? Because there was a lot of murmurings that yesterday was going to be Yarborough, and then he didn't play. Assuming it's Gavin Stone, I don't really care. I have Yarborough in. None of it really matters to me, although, Stone is going to get a little bit of love. But for now, I have it in as Yarborough. Do we know if it's official yet? Or is Stone just the opener? So Stone last pitched on the 17th, came in through 3 1/3. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe we'll hear a little bit later. Maybe it is Gavin Stone. Doesn't matter to me. Sean Manaea going on the Giants side. Don't really have him. You can have like 5% if you want. I'm going to talk more about the Giants. I had a lot of them yesterday. That didn't work out. This is my number one value team. 2 bats in the 4Ks is very appealing. I have 30 Giants stacks right now. I can't get away from these guys. They're 3% owned. Now that I think will change a little bit once the pitching situation gets stabilized. But we got to remember 120 park factor to righties and lefties for power. I just want to get a part of that park. So if it ends up being Yarborough, yay. If it's Gavin Stone, yay. I just want to get to the Giants. Now, I will not take a 16% stand on a 3% owned team. I'll get a little bit less, but I am going to be absolutely over the field on the Giants. This is the 4th team I'm on with the Twins, with the Red Sox, with the Mets. I don't have much of the Dodgers, but clearly play Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, whenever you want. I have them as the 4th best team. They just happen to be expensive. They're not a great value. 3% owned for the Dodgers. I have 1 stack, but the bats that I want are the Giants. So as I rank this slate, before we turn this one over to the NFL Strategy Show, Pablo Lopez is your primary pitching option for today. Chris Sale and Framber Valdez both look good. I prefer Valdez. Waldichuk and Brandon Pfaadt are your 2 primary value pitchers. Not a huge fan of the $4,500 pay down, but I get what he creates. For stacks, Mets, Red Sox, Twins, Giants. They are my 4 main priorities. All of this subject to change when we get to MLB Live Before Lock tonight at 6 p.m. Guys, we have made it through this slate. 130 people in that door right now. Hit that like button when you're done. Keep your eyes peeled for more content. But coming up next, 5 minutes from now, Laffy and Greg talking some NFL. Good luck, everybody. It's been fun. I will see you guys again for the final week of the MLB regular season. We're back here for the Strategy Show Monday morning.